Hey everybody, welcome to episode 38 of Between the Lanes. I'm back and I'm Ralph and he's
I'm Ron, and welcome back, Ralph.
my agent finally renegotiated the contract. I got the raise I was looking for, so here we are.
Looks like you have some new digs there, so.
Yeah. Little temporary. My studio is kind of in the process of being moved and remodeling another room to try to do all my man stuff in, including my studio for the show in there. So we'll see how long that takes.
There you go. So anyway, he really didn't miss much or anything over the last couple of weeks. I mean, kind of slowing down. The season is kind of starting to wrap up and slow down, and
right.
Series are ending, and championships and stuff like that. So we'll get into the race results here.
Okay.
And off we go. So your winning report. The New England Retro Racing group was at Auburn up in Maine last weekend. And in the stock car class, Gary Clinton was the winner, Keith Libby second. Frank Bleckhorn was third. And in Can-Am, it was Keith Libby winning. And I think I got the photos. There's the photos. That's your stock car podium. And in Can-Am, it was Keith Libby, Frank Bleckhorn, and Vinny Cafazzo, your top three. Did you catch the story about Gary Clinton and giving all of his stuff away at Goodwill?
I saw some jokes about Goodwill, but I didn't know if there was a real story behind there or not.
Well, yeah, he was moving, and he had stuff in boxes, and some boxes, I guess, he had decided was going to go to Goodwill. And after he took them to Goodwill, or Goodwill came and got him, I don't know which, he started looking for his slot cars and couldn't find them, and kind of realized that he gave a couple of boxes to Goodwill he probably shouldn't have. So some people got together and, gave him a chassis or chassis and, gave him some stuff to get up and go race, So
did he get it back from Goodwill?
No. Couldn't even buy it back from Goodwill if he wanted to.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's not a funny story, but it's kind of a funny story. I mean,
yeah, no, not funny at all.
That decision was made quick. So,
I recently took a lot of stuff to Goodwill, remodeling and everything and trying to clean out and I just drop it off at the actual store.
Right.
So I feel like maybe I could go in and buy it off the shelf, maybe, but I don't know. Yeah.
Well, usually, not that it matters to this show, but usually when you drop that stuff off, most of it they then send to a distribution center close to them where everything gets
okay.
and cleaned up a little bit. And
I assume they kind of wash it and clean it and put it right in the store right there.
Yeah, I think clothing they do, but I think other items they send to a little distribution center.
Yeah.
And that's how it works here. I mean, if I take something out there other than clothing, it sits there, a truck shows up, it goes down in Indianapolis, and they sort through stuff. And
would I wonder if Goodwill, would they even put a slot car in a store for sale, or do you think they'd just be like, I don't know, throw it,
Well, they probably thought it was if he had a complete car with a body, they probably thought it was like a toy car or something.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
well, I hope somehow maybe he can find the stuff. Sorry to hear about that.
Yeah. But anyway, some people stepped up, helped him, and he was in the winner's circle this weekend.
Okay, cool.
The RFC, the Ohio Retro Series, was at Mark's Model World for their final race of the 2017-18 series. And in the Retro Angle Winder class, it was Jason Dennis winning with Bud Denning second, and Rick Starkey was third. Greg Mayer was fourth, and Scott Lemon was fifth. Can-Am class, Greg Fox was the winner, Jason Dennis second, Greg Mayer third, Ralph Middall in fourth, and Mark Piccioni in fifth.
I noticed Greg Fox got a new haircut there.
I got a story about that. So in F1, Greg Fox doubled up with a win in F1, And then we had Greg Mayer second, Al Rudy in third, and there's a guy who don't get a haircut. Scott Lemon fourth, and Jason Eichelbarger was fifth. And in the championship, Tom Green was the retro angle winder champion. Jason Dennis was your Can-Am champion. And Greg, I got a new haircut, Fox was your F1 champion. So when we were at Mark's for the FNRS race a few weeks back, Greg was sporting his new haircut, and I said, nice fresh look or something like that. And he says, I only get my hair cut twice a year. So he just goes twice a year and get his hair cut. So
okay,
it's that time of year to get it cut real short. He'll be good through, I guess, the next 6 months, and he'll get cut again. So that's what he told me. I'm going with that story.
All right.
So then we go out to Boyda Park Raceway, and they had their I'm thinking this is the 5th annual Pete Zimmerman Festival Speed Race for Retro Angle Winder and Can-Am and F1. And I don't have a photo of the Retro Pro Podium, but Jim Lane was the winner. Dennis Sampson was second. Charlie Nelson was third. And then in Can-Am, Craig Correa was your winner with Dale Yamashita and Ed Shore. And F1, it was Dale Yamashita, Eddie Shore, and then Brian Warmack was third. And for those who don't know, or Craig has had some pretty serious health issues over the last year or so, and it's good to see him
back at the track.
So I don't know, where he's at percentage-wise, if he's 80%, 90%, but he's overcome some pretty big hurdles. So, and he has a page on Facebook, the International Scratch Builders page, and he's pretty active on there. But and then at Port Jeff Raceway, world famous Port Jeff Raceway, they had a Northeast Nazra wing car race last weekend. In the Open Motor Group 12 class, it was Walter Berg, Larry Pellegrini, and Sean Plummer in third. And then in the Hillbilly 12 class, Larry Pellegrini was the winner, Bob Hughes second, and Walter Berg in third. One Motor Group 15, Paul Kovich was the winner, Keith Keeler second, Larry Pellegrini third. Pro International 15, Doug Bauer was the winner, Bob Hughes second, Keith Keeler in third. And then 27 Light, Doug was the winner, Doug Bauer. Evan Petrakis was second. And Eric, with a question mark, was in third. No one seemed to have a last name for Eric. So
okay,
that was your wing car race last weekend. Triangle Slot Car Racers Association was at Archdale. And in stock car, there's your boy, Big Money. Carl Burrow was the winner, with Guy Spalding second and Danny Hamby third. In LMP, it was Guy Spalding, your winner, Carl second, and Mark Machado, I think, was third. In GTP, Big Money pulled it off again, and Guy Spalding was second, and Matt Ashby was third. Retro East was at Fast Tracks in Pennsylvania, and that's they kind of got one of those small hill climbs that really looks cool to go race on. In the coupe class, Pat Skaggs in the center was your winner. Ed Soul was second, and Carmen was third. And then in Can-Am, I don't have a photo, Matt Bruce was the winner. Ed Soul was second again, and Pat Skaggs was third. And I missed this on last week's show. The weekend before this last weekend, they had the Finnish Championships in Finland, and this is the track that is hosting the 2018 Israel World's Championship. And that's what the track looks like. It's a really cool, pretty technical road course that they'll be having the Israel Worlds on in October.
Interesting placement on the start-finish line.
Oh, Yeah, over here in the
like in a turn, basically.
yeah, I don't think that's where the lap counter is, but
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? I just think that's probably where they start the races. And
Right.
so at the Finnish when I say finish, it sounds like I'm saying finish is like the finish line, but at the Finnish Championship race, this is the Eurosport 32nd podium. Matty Fire from Finland was the winner. Janis, spelled, it looks like Janice, but Janis Nabokins was second, and Tonda Vocek was third. And in the F1 132nd, it was Giannis winning with Andre Zabavo, I think is how we say that, second. And Ralph's, like it's like Ralph's, Ralfs, instead of the American spelling, Ralph's Lightus. And in Eurosport 24th, it was Giannis winning with Tonda second. And Jairi Chewable, that was the name it was posted for the third place guy. So I don't really think his last name's Chewable, but that's
could be. You never know.
Well, it was spelled the American, like, you know, chewable, you know. So, I don't know. So anyway, they also had a under 13 championship for junior racers 13 and younger, and Johnny, and Danny was first, second, and third.
Well, you can tell which one of those guys didn't win.
Yeah, the guy on the left.
Yeah.
That'd be correct. And then they had a over 14, or over 13, I'm sorry, championship. And Santori, Levy, Vinny, Jasper, and also was your top five. And I don't really see a sad face in there. So I got a question for you. Well, anyway, here's a picture of the juniors. And it's always cool to watch the kids race. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Kids racing. And I mean, for a national championships, that's really cool. And this kid in the middle, like, is he on his cell phone, like maybe with his side chick or something? Or is he maybe yelling at Giannis to fix his car or put him back?
Yeah, I don't know.
I just thought it was, I mean, his finger's not even on the trigger, but I thought it was funny. He's like, you know, so it was kind of a cute picture. So
it might be calling a Zuber.
Might be.
Hey, this one isn't looking good for me. Y'all can come early.
Come get me to the hotel. Well, the JPM Performance Hard Body Series was at Thaser Raceway in South Bend, Indiana last weekend. And in the Super Stock class, Austin Milcherska was the winner, Rick Stagen second, Fred Fowler in third. And in Pony Stocks, Austin was the winner, Rick Stagen second again, and Mike Wanino was third. And it's really cool to see Mike Wanino. I mean, you don't know him and everything, but he's kind of I don't want to say an up-and-coming racer, but definitely a enthusiast and a racer, and slowly has been getting better. The first time I seen him racing was a year or two ago, and you know, he struggled a little bit. Kind of goes at his own pace to learn the track and figure things out, but you know, he got up on a podium, and I mean, it wasn't like it was a weak field or anything like that. I mean, he deserved to be on that podium, so he did a good job to get on that podium. So
very cool.
Yeah. So history in the making, and of course, everyone knows that last weekend, and you know, well, if we go to last weekend Sunday and we go to like 7 days prior, that 6 days prior, that was the scale. USRA Scale Championships 2018 Scale Nats at Slot Car Raceway in Roanoke Park, California. And, you know, before I start, because this is going to sound like a broken record as I go down these results, but, you know, Paul Goronsky entered 8 classes, the most he's ever entered at a race, and he won 6 out of 8. And
pretty good.
Yeah, no one's ever done that before, so that was some history in the making. As far I don't even know if anyone's ever really raced 8 races or classes. I'm sure there probably has. But anyway, it won Nats. But yeah, he won 6 out of 8, and at the end of the week, he was 2.5 laps short of winning all 8 that he entered into. So,
Wow.
yeah. So the JRL race was the first race to run last Tuesday, and Paul Goronsky was the winner, and Jason Hooper was second, and Gugu from Brazil was third. And then in the LMP class, which used handout Pro Slot 4002 FK motors, and that's the only handout class or kind of super restricted class at the Nats. Paul Goronsky was the winner. Duran Trujillo was second, and Jason Hooper was third, or as I guess we can call him CC now, according to his T-shirt. So, GTP, Justin Colvin here, where my cursor is, was the winner. Paul was second. That was his first of 2 defeats of the weekend or the week, and Jason Hooper was third again. And we have John Mattis, and we have Tyler Colvin, who's Justin's younger brother. Chris Crofts, Vegas over here on the right. And I'm sorry, I do not know this gentleman's name. That's Alex from, not Alex, Lnes from Brazil. So, Group 10 class, Paul Goronsky, Speed Racer. He had his car painted up like Speed Racer. He was the winner. Justin Colvin was second. I guess maybe a little bit of revenge there from the GTP race going on there. And Duran was third. In the amateur GT12, the youngster Tyler won. Tyler Colvin. Jason Holmes was second, and Chris Harrison was third. And that, I wouldn't swear by this, but I think every race except this race, the finish was usually within 2 laps from first to second. And Tyler blew him out in this race. He won by 25 laps. So he had the kind of big win. Kind of had the big win of the weekend. So Expert GT12, Paul Goronsky winner, Jason Hooper second, Gugu in third. 132nd Eurosport, Paul Goronsky winner, Giannis second, Gugu third. And this is a picture of Giannis with that real nice trophy that Gugu had made for the TQ of F1. Mm-hmm. And Giannis just barely beat out Paul for that. I mean, it was really close qualifying. So 32nd Eurosport, same podium as the F1 podium. It was Paul, Giannis, and Gugu. And in the 24th Eurosport race, probably one of the best races I've ever watched. I mean, I was watching it online, of course, but Giannis pulled out the win over Paul. They were on the same lap. They started the last heat tied. Paul was about a third of a lap behind. Paul caught him. Giannis went to 5th gear and started pulling away. And even though Giannis come off once or twice in the last heat, Paul couldn't catch him. So, and then Jason Hooper wound up third. Gugu was fourth. Gugu, these three and Gugu early on they were just in a different zip code, and it was quite an interesting race. And I guess I'll announce it here. After this show is over, or tonight, I have an interview with Paul and Giannis. It's a separate deal. Couldn't really incorporate it into the show. So at the end of this show, you'll be able to see. I'll have that posted up on YouTube and the links to it. But it's a really good interview, and we talk about the race and lots of other things. The story about the TQ F1 trophy is really interesting too. So tune in for that and watch, listen, and learn a little bit. So another, big part of the interview was, like these guys prepping for the race. Giannis, so the USRA Nats start on Tuesday, right? So Saturday and Sunday before, Giannis is racing in Europe, in Finland. He goes home, catches some few hours of sleep, gets up, goes to the airport. He's on a flight here. He gets here Tuesday.
Right.
So,
wow.
Okay, Giannis, what did you do to get ready for that kind of a week? You know what I mean? Because it's one thing to go and set your stuff up and let it set for 2 or 3 days at a big race and then pack it up and go home and don't touch it for a few days or weeks or whatever. But, you got to come home and either you got to have everything in the box and set them by the door and put them back in the car, or you got to do some quick thrashing and turn and burn, as I call it. So, yeah, a lot of cool stuff in the interview. So, interesting photo. This is a ageless photo of Paul from the 1997 Nats when they were in California, and he won he went 5 for 5. He raced 5 classes and won all 5, and swept. And they took the picture of the broom. And this year, there was a little bit different broom. But he had to share that broom with Giannis and Justin, as they're the ones who kept him from sweeping the 8 races he raced in. So
what a bum. I can't believe he couldn't win all 8.
2.5 laps short, baby. So I think I like this broom better because it's a little fuller. It's a whole broom. Yeah. This one, he only gets a little bit of a broom. So that's pretty much it for the USRA Nats report. Now, last week's show when I was doing the history, I had it wrote down correctly. I just read it wrong, and I got called out for it. So this is my correction of the week. But the 2016 USRA Scale Nats that was at Jim Radford's place, Pacific Slot Car Raceway, I incorrectly listed Paul Gronsky as the winner. Rick Lynn, who was this year's 132nd Concours winner, he was the 2016 USRA Eurosport champion. Paul Gronsky was second, and Jim Radford was third. So just wanted to clear that up as I was called out on it. And I have a clean slate. So winner, chicken dinner, that's your race report.
Sunday.
He's back, folks.
I didn't forget.
He's back. So this weekend we have the Retro All-Stars and Invitational races at Fast Tracks in Fremont, Ohio, racing on the Oval and the American Black Track. We have the Sunset 240 Enduro race at Chicagoland Raceway. It's kind of like an ISRA production class where they're going to run
what's the significance in the 240 in that? I saw that. I was wondering kind of how that got its name.
I think it's 8 30-minute heats.
Okay.
240 minutes.
That makes sense.
Okay. That's what I'm thinking. They're going to use the new Pro Slot Scorpion motor handout. They're going to do spec gearing, spec body, and that's a 2-man teams race. Last I knew, they had 5 teams signed up. This weekend, AWRA, American Wamp Racing Association, is going to be at American Adrenaline Speedway. The Ohio Oval Series is at Fast Alley in Fremont, Ohio. And the 54th annual 132nd BRISCA, British Slot Car Racing Association Nationals, will be held at the National Slot Car Center in Corby, England. And that's all like Eurosport type 132nd scale cars and stuff. So, and then the JPM Performance Series final championship race, it will be at Thaser this weekend. They're racing their back-to-back weekends. Kind of strange and different, but that's the way it is. So that's what I got for this weekend, and that's what we'll be talking about next week. So one last thing. This is Zach Woods. Zach races up in South Bend. He runs hard bodies. He runs retro cars. He runs flexi cars. And usually he's at all the series races when we go there. And his older brother and his father, they've all been in auto racing for years. And I think Zach is only like 14 years old, and they've built him what they call a Hornet car to race. And he raced for the first time last weekend, and he won his first ever heat race. So I thought I'd give him a mention on here. And just a year or two ago, he was short, but he's getting taller and taller. So
yeah.
But yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, he doesn't look 14.
Yeah, well, I don't even think he's got his driver's license. I mean, like I said, I think he's 14. He might be 15, but yeah, he's really sprouted up in the last 6 months or 8 months. So congratulations to Zach. And Cap Henry had a pretty good run at the sprint car race in Mansfield, Ohio. Spun out early or something and went to the
top. Comeback.
Came back and got 5th. So
yeah, he's got a pretty cool looking car this year too.
Well, he's actually got like
sponsor.
Well, he was in a different car last week than his, I think, normal car.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, and I don't know. I didn't see any pictures of the car he raced last weekend, but his full time ride, I guess we would say, is pretty sharp looking. So, and that's the final.
That's it.
News and race results, and I don't know what else.
Okay. Well, I got a couple things.
Okay.
So it just so happens that lately I've been in the market for either a new tire truer or a new diamond drum or just a regular drum. I've kind of been throwing it up, right? Like, because my original Huddy is at least 10 years old and the drum's just slap worn out, you know?
Right.
So I've been kind of trying to decide what to do, and then, you know, the diamond drum's pretty expensive, but then it's like, well, do you just get a new one, or you get a rebuild kit, or do you just buy a new drum? Or I didn't know what I wanted to do. And recently I see somebody now is advertising they'll recoat your drums. You send in your drum and they'll recoat it for like $100 with diamond and send it back. And then somebody else is just advertising a new drum with replaceable sleeve sandpapers for like, you know, $40 or $50 or something, right? So what would you do? Do you use just the sandpaper?
Yeah, the tire truer the tire truer that we've been using, Randy used it, now I use it. We've been using that thing for almost 20 years, and it came with a replaceable drum, sanding drum, you know. So I don't know how many years Randy used it before he ever replaced the first drum. But I remember we were at a race in Columbus, and we wound up going to Sears, like their tool outlet or whatever, and walking in and buying a bag of drums, sorted sizes. I think there was 3 different grits, 4 drums each. It was like $7. Okay, so I don't know how many times he'd replaced a drum prior to that, but he kind of acted like, well, I need a drum. You know, this is our, I don't know, what do you call it? A sanding disc? I don't know.
Sanding drum, yeah. I mean, it's a
drum. Okay. So we went there and we, bought a bag of them, and of that bag of 10 that he bought over 7 years ago, I still got 10. I got 10 of them here. So and I grind a lot. I mean, I'm not grinding tires. A lot of guys use these things to make tires. I don't really make tires. I buy tires and then true them. So, I mean, I haven't replaced a drum on it yet. And I've been
do you know what grit yours is? Because I find myself cutting a lot more Wonder Rubber these days. And that's kind of whatever I do, I want to get something that's going to cut Wonder Rubber without creating a lot of heat and shrinkage on it,
Okay. I'm using the middle grit, and I don't. You know what? I'd have to go find the bag of drums now and tell you what exact grit that is. There's one that's really rough, and if I was making, taking a big donut and grinding it down, I'd put that rough grit on there. And
the rough one, right?
Yeah, take it down. But I've been using the middle grit, I guess medium, and I've been using. That's what I use to true my tires all the time. And I know that when Randy went and got those drums, I don't think any of those 3 drums were identical to what was on the machine. So he, I think, put the rough one on first, and it would leave lines in the tires because the grit's uneven.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think he might have tried the fine one, but that was cutting too slow. So he put the medium one on there, and that seemed to be the happy medium between the two.
And it cuts Wonder Rubber real nice?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, when I true my tires, I, grind them on that. And then I have an emery board that after, I go run it across the entire surface around my edges. So if a grinding or sanding drum would leave a little line here or there, I kind of take that out with the emery board. But if you run a few laps, if there's any kind of lines like that, they're going to be gone anyway. So,
right, yeah, I noticed that because I noticed people who buy new Huddies, it'll even leave the grooves in them, but
right.
Like you said, they're gone in a lap or two.
Right, and if you have a machine that has the diamond drum on it, you can send that. If you can find a place locally or close by that does an industrial diamond coating, they can strip those. They're actually plated.
Right, right.
So they can actually replate those for you. I don't know what the fee would be, but you could take it somewhere if you had someone close to you that does
right.
They could do that for you. So, and then another thing about the you asked me what grit I used. I think that depends on what motor you're using on your tire grinder and how hard you're going to turn it and, things like that. I mean, some motors won't turn enough RPM to allow you to use like a really fine, because it would just bog down and load up the drum. So you'd have to play around a little bit. And then, but if I was buying a new tire grinder, and I can't, hang on here. I seen this about 6 months ago, and I finally seen one in person when we were at the FNRS race at Mark's Model World, and Ralph Middall had a tire machine by the name of, let's see here. It was like oh, here we go. Yes, there it is. It was, I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, PN Racing, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, is it orange in color?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that.
If I was going to get a tire machine, that's probably what I get. And I'll tell you what,
there's two companies that make that exact one where you kind of got to like slide the pin out.
Well, you unthread it. Yeah, you unthread that pin.
Yeah, there's two different people that make that one.
Okay. But that thing, I mean, I love the idea of supporting the tire on both ends, because you can't get any kind of flex, or not that you get a lot of flex when you're doing it, but or any deflection. But yeah, that's just an awesome setup in my opinion.
And what kind of drum comes on that?
I'm looking at that, and I think that it has,
I forget the price, or that they're like $250 or $200 maybe.
Or $250. I'm pretty sure that's a drum.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's almost got like that Triggerman.
Right. Adjustment knob on it.
Already in there. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of got that motor shield on there, that orange colored. I don't know if it's Lexan or what, but keep dusting stuff out of the motor. And I didn't even see Ralph using it there. I'm just like, I was walking by his pit, and I'm like, wow, what is that? And I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, so. And what's cool about it is the pin. The pin that you put the tire on. There's three sizes. There's eighth inch,
32nd, 2 millimeter.
Well, what I seen in there, and when I looked this up, it was a 3 millimeter. But
okay.
Ralph said you could get a 2 millimeter.
Okay.
And I don't really have a use for 2 millimeter. I've never really ran 2 millimeter
Right.
axles or tires. So, but yeah, it'd be perfect for like the grinder I've been
I
using.
think those are probably more popular over in Europe and places than they are here.
Well, that company makes those little 4-wheel drive cars that fit in the track that like
Right.
Tommy runs, they run on a battery. Tamiya
Right.
cars.
Right.
They make a lot of stuff for that industry or that segment of the hobby. But like my tire machine, the only way I can do an 1/8-inch tires is if I sleeve it, which I've done before. Put the crown gear sleeve in there, grind it. A Hootie, you have to pull it apart and change the axle.
Right.
So with that, it's one machine does everything, and it's just unthreading that pin.
Yeah.
So it's really convenient. So,
Right.
yeah, if I was buying something, I'd definitely look into that.
Right. Okay. So, do we have any new rules or any big news coming out of the Nats now that that's over with?
There was no rule. There was no rule changes. I guess nothing was proposed. So, like our pre-show discussion, everyone bitches and complains about stuff, but no one proposes anything. So, you can't get
Right. Yeah.
if you don't propose. It's also my understanding that the new Division II scale director is Jason Holmes for 1 year. That's normally a 2-year position, but Roger inherited that when the guys that they voted in last year at the 2017 Nats, when they resigned, then Roger had to pick up those duties because in the rules there's nothing about how do you replace people that quit.
Okay.
And you couldn't take an election because you got to do the election at the meeting, at the Nats meeting. So Roger inherited that position, and they, like he did 1 of the 2 years. So they voted in Jason Holmes to be the director for the next year. And Jason Hooper is the tech director, and John Mattis is the scale director, assistant tech director.
So when does Jason Holmes his leadership take effect?
June 1st.
In like a month.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
June 1st. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it seems like same old story. Everyone complains, we hate this person, we hate that person, they're ruining it, but oh, by the way, we don't want to change anything.
Right.
And
as far as I can tell, and I think the Nats was fairly
looked like the attendance was up this year than it had been the last couple of years also.
Right. Oh, I think it was definitely larger than last year at Rogers, but I think that it's on average with probably the last 3 or 4 scale Nats. Give or take a couple of numbers here or there. It was still it's still a good week. And, it's I don't think there was much controversy at the Nats. I know there was over the amateur GT12 race that got brought up on Facebook, where Jason Holmes was in the amateur class, and the rule book says, and it's said this for many, many years, if you win an amateur class at the scale Nats, you must race in the expert division
for the next
any future Nats.
Right.
And he was the amateur GT12 champion in 2001, and the rule book then said the top 3 had to race expert at all future Nats.
Gotcha.
And that at some point got changed to where it was just the winner, and then he went back in 2008, and he entered. He was the LMP and the 4.5-inch amateur champion. And there was a little bit of a stink back then, if I remember right. And then he came back this year and did it again. So someone said he was claiming the 5-year rule, where if you sit out 5 years, you can come back and start over again. But there's no such 5 year. There's no such thing. It's never been in a rule book. It's never been a voted on rule. You know, that 5-year thing goes back on the wing car side, and back then it wasn't even official because it was never in the rule book. I mean, it was just back then you would have maybe someone who went semi-pro. Back then we had move-ups. You had move-ups. If you won a class on that, you had to move up to the next class. So guys would win, say, International 15. They have to come back and race 27. Well, if they didn't like racing that class, they wouldn't go to the Nats for 5 years, or they'd say, okay, when can I come back? Well, you got to sit out for 5 years. You can't come to the Nats for 5 years. But when you come back, then you can run international again. So it was a rule that was really never used or enforced.
Right.
There's been a bunch of instances where that didn't happen. But anyway, that was I don't know how big a controversy it was. I mean, obviously Jason raced. He finished second. But I think going forward, the USRA is going to have to make a decision. And, I mean, it's pretty simple in the rule book. It says if any winner of any amateur class must race expert at any future Nats. There's no exceptions. There's no 5-year clause. I mean, it is what it is. And if they don't like it, propose something and change it. So, other than that, yeah, like I said, I think it was a pretty normal Nats.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I really didn't hear much, any kind of chaos or anything bad come out of it at all. But I'll tell you one thing I was kind of surprised about was the Flexi Palooza race coming up.
Yep.
In Downriver, Michigan. Wow, that thing's got almost 60 entries already.
It's up. It's really
60 pre-entries.
Yeah, and the cutoff 64.
Right.
So if anybody is interested in running that race, you need to get signed up and paid to guarantee your spot.
Yeah.
Because I know, a couple of days ago, I think it was up to like 55 or something, and I know that there's still a lot of interest. Every now and I wouldn't. Well, I mean, Sunday and Monday, I had 3 or 4 contact me, said, what's up with the race? How do I get in? And I told them, and apparently they must have signed up, because if you're telling me it's close to 60 now, or at 60.
I think it's somewhere in the 50s anyway.
Okay.
But still, man, that's still a lot, really, honestly.
Well, and I mean, you got to stop and think about. I mean, I think it's going to be a really cool race. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be really, really close racing. It's going to, of course, come down to who can make their car go the fastest with handout tires and a handout motor and a spec body, driving, and then luck. I mean, you could be a half a tenth faster than everybody, but if you got to stop for 2 or 3 wrecks, and everybody gets ahead of you, you lose your advantage. And is a half a tenth faster going to allow you to catch up to the rest of those guys if they run perfect and don't come off and let you catch them? You know what I'm saying? So
right.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a real nail biter. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of amazing that you can do a pre-entry, prepay race and have so many people interested in it. And I don't know, what's the interest for most guys? Is it because we're all going to run handout motors and tires and a spec body?
I feel like that's probably it, in my opinion, really.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's...
And the fact that it's on a king track. So I feel like you get a lot of people that wouldn't normally think they are going to go contend for the win, maybe now feel like they have more of a shot because of the equalize, maybe, so to speak.
Well, and the track. I'm not, it's not you're not going to stand there and hold your controller wide open. I mean, it's pretty easy to drive, and it's a lot of micro blipping, but yeah, the track's really good. So, yeah, I mean, it's just this typical deal. Some guys are going to miss it on maybe the way they mount their body, or maybe their car's bent and they don't realize. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, it's just the little things. They're going to make big differences at the end of the day, I think.
Right.
Like every race. But
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about you're going to go and race against a guy that's got 100 pair of tires in his box that he can sit there and fine-tune his car. I mean, we're all going to be on the same tires. We're going to, so it's not what you got, it's what you do with it is what's come down to.
Right. Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So I think it's kind of a cool concept. And, yeah, but who would have thought? I mean, when Ernie first told me about the race, I thought, yep, 30, 40 guys will be it. And I thought, well, if you get 40, that's kind of.
Well, I was thinking like 20 or 30, really. But
yeah, well, now I was thinking 30 or 40 would be a lot.
Yeah, right.
Realistically, I was thinking 30.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, to have 50 plus right now at this point. And there's still, I guess, 3 weeks or almost 4 weeks to get.
So when's the last time there's been a flexi car, a scale car race with 60 entries in it?
Oh, geez. We'll go watch the last 2 weeks' shows.
Well, other than like a Nats, I don't recall anything other than that.
No, it would have been a big race. It would have been a USRA scale Nats. Well, and see, that's the thing. Like, on the shows, like one of those years, and I don't have the notes in front of me right now. We had like 105 Group 10 entries, but they were broke down into 3 categories.
Right.
So, but I think the largest category had 53 or 54 entries in it. That's a lot of Group 10 cars. So, there was like 50-some amateur, and then there was, I think, 30 to 35 expert, and then there was another, 20 or so juniors. And that's another thing, too. I believe at next year's USRA Nats, it's going to be down at Concord.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they are going to have a junior race.
Oh, okay.
For 13 and under.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, again, I think a lot of things are still in the talking stage, but I believe they're going to do the and it's a wise move. I think the junior race will be with the LMP cars with the handout motors like they run in LMP, because Group 10 is a motor builder class. And that's probably why we haven't run junior Group 10 for the last 2 or 3 years at least, because it went back to built motors. Because when they used to run junior Group 10, it was because Group 10 was a handout motor class. So it was inexpensive. There's not a lot of kids that are building motors to begin with, and it's cheaper for their parents to take them there and let them compete.
Right.
So it'd be good to see the junior class back at
part of the junior class.
Yeah, and I think that just seeing some race results that Randy McNulty posts, he does have some customers there that look to be 13 or younger. So
any idea when they're going to have their flat track?
I think they're going to go get it here in the next either this coming week or the following week.
Okay.
So yeah.
And is that going in the same building or a separate building or what? Do you know?
Okay, there's it's my understanding, and I don't want to maybe give things away. I know that Randy has been looking at different buildings for the past couple of months.
Gotcha.
And there's another option that, if it happens, will be pretty cool. But I'm not at liberty to talk about that option right now. So, because I don't even know if that's going to – but there are some talks underway, what I would call the ultimate option.
Sure.
Which would be really cool if it happens.
Sure.
So we'll see.
Okay.
So
here's some good big news soon.
Yeah, and I think you'll see the 2019 Nat schedule out here in the next week too. So
okay.
With all the classes on what days, what tracks. And I think that'll be a pretty good size Nats, because there's a lot of – on the flexi car side of things.
If all the local Carolina racers support it, it should be.
Yeah, and I think that will happen. But we'll see.
Right.
So because King Cobra, the oval, and the new MTT or the incoming MTT. So I think the question, are they going to run the 4.5-inch NASCARs on the oval or on the King Cobra?
Gotcha.
So, and he's already he's talked about maybe looking at a different oval than what he has now.
Okay.
Because that oval, I guess if you get your car right, I mean, it's pretty much full punched around there. But when they wreck, they really tear them up. And that's a concern for some. So he's got a year or close to a year. So,
right.
So we'll see. But, yeah, I think it'll be a pretty decent Nats next year.
Okay. Well, other than that, that's all I really got. You got anything?
I don't have nothing else.
Okay.
Nothing else. So, but, again, after this episode, you can go on YouTube channel. I'll have links up for the Giannis and Paul interview.
Special interviews.
Special interview.
60 minutes with Ron Hirschman.
Yeah, it's 51 minutes.
51 minutes.
Well, if we put the commercials in, then it'd be an hour. But
there you go.
But no, so it was a lot of fun, and there's some funny parts and there's some serious parts, and again, you just listen to those guys and you can learn stuff. I mean, so there you go.
Okay.
So congrats to all the winners last week at the USRA Nats and all the other races, and good luck to those who are racing this weekend, and be safe and enjoy the nice weather, because it's finally got nice up here. I mean, it's going to be 80 today.
Yeah, it's about what it is here too. All week.
Yeah, so it's going to cool down tomorrow, but
good golfing weather.
Yeah, I think it's going to be in the low to mid 70s at the All-Star race this weekend. So, and I'm sure that will affect the attendance a little bit, but
good luck to everybody going to that race. So,
yep. So, all right.
Well, you got a secret word of the show?
Well, the question is, are you going to be here next week?
I'm day to day right now.
Okay, no, it's no big.
I hope so.
Because people are like, "Where's Ralph? What's Ralph up to?" I'm like, he's just going through some changes, life changes.
I just got a lot going on here right now. Nothing bad.
So no, it's all good.
It's all good stuff. Just busy.
Adjusting. So, yeah, secret word. I never think about that. Because we used USRA. We used USRA last week, so we can't really use that this week. So, secret word of the show. Where I use that word. I'm just thinking. Man, I'm not good at this week. Well, you got any suggestion? How about sanding drum?
Sanding drum. There you go. So
we talked about that. So.
All right, that works. Right. Sanding drum.
There you go.
All right.
Magic word.
Well, be safe. Good luck, everybody. It's good to be back on again, and see you next time.
Ciao.